Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to part 3 of Sam and Az rating your teams, answering your questions. I think we're going back to the normal format next week, Sam. So this is the final chance to send in your teams. We've taken some from Twitter, as we have done the last few weeks, and we'll be taking some more kind of live. So if you want your team rated, email me az@fplblackbox.com, and Sam and I will take a couple of those at random. But Sam, FPL show, first one of the season, looking very glam. How was it?
You can tell, can't you, if I've been there.
As soon as you came on, I was like, you look very nice. There's something's happened. Something's different.
Yeah. And I've just noticed that my shoes that I wore, I just dumped there, because I got home and had to get straight on a call, so I picked up a box from the post office, because it's somebody in this house's birthday tomorrow.
It is. Yeah.
So one of his presents got delivered, but we missed it, and so I was like, oh no. So on the way to the FPL show,
one more day.
I know, right? So on the way to the FPL show this morning, I had to quickly nip down the post office and collect it. So I got home, it was like so late back from my call, so I like just dumped it on my chair with my shoes apparently, and I was like, oh.
So that's the mystery present sat just behind you.
Oh, that's the present from the kids as well. Can you imagine if that hadn't been here for tomorrow?
Whoa.
How much grief I'd have got from them too.
Surely they could just like hand make him something quick, just do him a drawing or something. Aren't they the most meaningful gifts I've heard from your kids?
I mean, I think
We're a bit beyond that now. When they're
I mean they're a bit old now, as you know, and they've got a proper opinions on what they want to buy and stuff, which means that I'm basically just enabling them. Like, it's just I just open my wallet and go, there you are. Like, what do you want to buy? And well, yeah. And then they've pretty much given it away already, I think. But
okay.
Never mind.
I don't know, so I can't give everything away.
No, so so FPL show this morning, which was lovely. Nice to be back. I think it's possibly going to be out on Sky and places like that today, and then it will be out tomorrow on
you
the
and Johnny, right?
channels. Yes, me and Johnny.
Lovely. How nice. I think I've got one coming up, but not for a little while. Anyway, we've got loads to talk about, loads of teams to rate, loads of players to discuss. Before we do any of that, this week's Q&A is sponsored, like it was last week, by FanTeam, who are great. So if you haven't seen FanTeam, it's another way of playing FPL. There's two kind of main tournaments they're involved with this season. The first one is something completely different to anything that I've ever seen before. The unlimited season game with a £30,000 prize pool. What does it mean by unlimited? It means you can build a squad like this, with Alisson, Trent, Vardiol, Son, Salah, Saka, Palmer, Watkins, Haaland, Porro. There's no budget. You can have a maximum of 3 entries, and you've got to resist the urge to go with Forest and Brighton and other rubbish players to build a squad of expensive ones. So if that takes your fancy, if you want to build a squad and have literally whoever you want, then give the new FanTeam game a try. Great thing about that as well is if you play for £3, in that you'll get a free £10 entry ticket to the £200,000 prize pool game, and 2 pick 6 tickets, which is kind of a fixture prediction game where you can win even more money. And the fantasy game with the 200k prize pool is kind of similar to what you're already used to. There's a wild card, there's player prices and budget and all that thing, and it's unlimited entries for that. FanTeam is a form of gambling. You will be spending real money to try and win real prizes. So obviously, gamble aware, don't play if you can't afford to. It's just a bit of fun. But hopefully you can win a bit of money using your FPL knowledge. Okay. Teams. Let's go to Twitter first. This one is from FPL Copycat on Twitter. Thanks for getting in touch. Interesting to see how these teams evolve, isn't it? Over, because the teams we're getting in are kind of more template, I think, now than we've seen in kind of other weeks. Haaland's coming back in. Remember last week he was like 50-50, whereas now I think he's creeping back in. Anyway, FPL Copycat is Henderson and Matthews. It's Barco, Vestergaard, Trent, Vardiol and Porro. Murphy, Bailey, Saka, Oscar Bob. I did a little TikTok about him the other day. And Nkunku, Solanke, Haaland and Isak. So a few ones to discuss here, Sam. We got Murphy in, we got Bob in, Solanke with that potential move to Spurs. Thoughts on those?
So I thought
2-minute timer as always, by the way.
Okay, I thought the Murphy pick was really random until I was looking and realised he got 7 goal involvements in the pre-season, and I was like, wow, okay, that's quite impressive.
It'd be harsh for him not to start, wouldn't it? Game week 1.
It really would when you've had a good pre-season, but anything could be happening, really, couldn't it? Let's be frank. I think
Thomas.
I may be the only person that's not that keen on the Newcastle fixtures. Like, I actually think that they're genuinely quite tough. Like, there's some good home fixtures in there, but there's some difficult away trips in there as well. But I do quite like the price point of Murphy. You're not having to pay the $7.5 million to have Anthony Gordon. So I do quite like that. I like the fact that there's some differentials in there. Like, I like that Saka's in there. I think he'll be good. Obviously, he played 45 minutes in the pre-season friendly yesterday for Arsenal. Got an assist, I think, in that one. So came back in. Obviously, got some returns. I'd expect him to play the full 90 in their weekend friendly. And then obviously back into for the start of game week 1. It does feel like the midfield is a bit weak, though, I think, in this one. Does it to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one premium, isn't it? But then the rest, the most expensive next player is 6.5. So there's 2 6.5s. What's Murphy? 5.5.
Yeah, like I would actually rather have a 4-5 in that Murphy position because you've got your 3 up top that you're going to play every week. I think I'd rather have a 4-5 there, and then that would enable you to upgrade Bailey and have a...
Well, you could go for Gordon, for example. If you want a Newcastle attacker, Bailey to Gordon and Murphy down to a 4-5. That just gives you a bit more flexibility in and around that 7-5 area.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Bob pick?
This is a really hard one because pre-season been phenomenal, hasn't he? He's been really, really good, looked really good, playing a lot of minutes. How many minutes do we think he's going to get once the season starts?
Do you think he starts... All you want him for, really, all you're expecting, I think, is the first couple, right? And there's Silva and Foden, both who can play on the right. Alvarez is obviously leaving, so he's not a threat anymore. I'm in two minds. If he starts at home to Ipswich, he's a great pick, but he's a transfer waiting to happen, isn't he?
Yeah, I think... If he starts in the Community Shield, though, do you think that means he will or won't start in game week 1?
I think he'll start game week 1. I'm pretty confident he'll start game week 1 because he's had a full pre-season and looked really sharp. And if he suddenly shoehorn back Foden or Silva, who have barely played or haven't even played, then I think that's pretty harsh. And I think Guardiola likes Oscar Bob. I think he's put his arm around him and he said, let's go for it. Let's go for it, lad. So I think he starts Community Shield and I think he starts game week 1. After that, I think he's a risk.
Yeah, and in which case then do you want to start the season with him? Because that's quite difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I would. I quite like him as a differential, and if you're planning on wildcarding early, maybe it's fine. And if you're going to use him in game week 1 and maybe try and get him out in game week 2, fine. But I just worry with this team, you're relying on Bob or Murphy each week. Both of those are pretty big relegation doubts, and you're 2 4 million defenders. You can't even bring in a defender really if one of those does miss out.
No, and that's why I think I'd prefer to downgrade Murphy to a 4.5, upgrade elsewhere. Like you could then make, like if you take Murphy down to a 4.5, you've got another 6.5 in, or you've got a 6 in the Bob position. Or if you took Pedro Porro down a little bit, then you're close enough to being able to have Eze in the Bob position. And I think that was far better to have 2 expensive defenders and then really good 4 and a really good 3 up top and then good options in the 4. Because that defence has none of the good 4.5s.
Well,
and that feels like it feels like a mistake to me to not have the 4.5s.
We're way over 2 minutes. Way over. What's your rating for this team?
6.
I think I'm on a 6 as well. I think that's the first one we've agreed on. I think I think it's too much money in defence, too many risky picks in midfield. It's just too top and bottom heavy, like you said, and the midfield is lacking. So, yeah, I'm going to give that one a 6. Can you stop working, please, and focus on the Q&A? Is it Chris again?
Yeah, he can't get in the site, and he's asking me to help him.
Next one is from El Hodjo 93. So this one's got 0.5 million in the bank. We can get your thoughts on that in a bit. Henderson, he's now looking like the most popular 4-5 option, given that Johnson wants to leave. So it's Henderson in goal, Mikalenko, Saliba, Trent, Son, Nkunku, Gordon, Eze, Muniz, Haaland, and Isak, and then Vlada Mars, whoever that is, who's got
That's the Bournemouth.
Bournemouth.
Is that the Brentford? Is that the Brentford?
Brentford backup keeper. Yeah, that's right. Pau Torres, Face, and Winks. So one, well, I mean Face plays, but one decent bench option, but 0.5 in the bank as well. And the 11 looks pretty good.
I quite like this one.
Yeah, I like this one.
I like the defence. It doesn't have... Okay, so here's going to be me picking holes. I love that there's 0.5 in the bank. I love that. I think that's such a good strategy because it does mean that the price rises, which are going to be inevitable, you're covered with anybody. So that's good. I don't love that there's no Liverpool attack apart from Trent. There's no Arsenal attack, and there really isn't because it's Saliba. That feels difficult. I think you need that, don't you?
Well, if you're going Arsenal attack, I think it's only really Saka you go for.
Even with Havertz performing as he has been.
Oh, I don't think Havertz is an option as a forward. Not with Jesus there. He's going to be playing a different role.
But he wasn't. So yesterday he played half the game in midfield and half the game up top.
And the fixtures aren't great for Arsenal. They've got Wolves at home, which looks great. And then it's Aston Villa away, Brighton, Spurs, Man City.
Okay, so I take you on that then, if that's fine. If that's the choice you're making, if you're making an active choice to not have that, you can't say the same about Liverpool. They're second on the fixture ticket for the opening 6.
But the only one you're picking Salah. You're not going near any of the other Liverpool assets, right? And there's Trent, and he's got Trent.
I think you can go Jota.
No. There's no way you're going to start with Jota.
I think you can. I'm not saying I'm going to. I think you can. I think he's going to start in the number 9 in game week 1. If he does well, he stays there. I think Lee's starting the season with Jota.
Yeah, I just think it's Salah or bust, and I can see why people aren't going with Salah because it lets them, go for like this Son, Gordon, and Eze only 165. There's no Minter there like I've got in my team when I've got Salah and Haaland. There's no Murphys. There's no no Bobs are needed. So I do kind of get it. I tell you what, I think with Trent though, I think you.
Do you think Trent?
I think Trent is your. Yeah, I do. Trent is your attack. Trent is your Liverpool attacker. I think you can only really start with Trent or Salah. I wouldn't be picking any others.
I'm not even sure Trent's going to start in game week 1.
Well, there is that. Are we back to you bashing Trent again?
No, I'm not bashing Trent. I would rather have a proper Liverpool attacker. I think there's so much uncertainty about where Trent is going to play. Like, Conor Bradley's played really well in pre-season. Does that mean Trent plays in midfield? Yes, probably. Does Trent play in midfield? Does he go... What is that?
Sorry, could you hear that? That's because I've set a 2-minute timer.
Yeah.
That was in my ears. That was so late, so loud.
So loud. I could hear that. I was like, what's that?
I thought it was you. Yeah, I thought it was you. That was weird. Yeah, I do kind of get it. I know the fixtures are great, but I can see why people would have no Liverpool players because there is uncertainty around Trent. We still don't really know what Szoboszlai is going to be playing, what his role is going to be. Salah's really expensive. Jota, Darwin, Gakpo, Diaz are all going to be fighting for minutes. I don't know. I don't think a Liverpool attacker is essential. I don't think an Arsenal one is either. So we're completely at odds with each other.
I mean, I haven't got an Arsenal attacker in mine because I just can't find a way.
Have you got Salah?
But I've got Salah.
Yeah, well, I've got Salah as well. What do you think of the Son punt? Do you feel it is a punt, right? He's the lowest owned premium asset.
It still doesn't feel punty though, does it, Son? Like, he's played really well in pre-season. His relationship with Kulis...
11% ownership? Yeah, I guess it's not... It's higher than I thought it would be, actually.
Yeah, well, it's grown quite a lot in recent weeks because obviously he's been performing well. I think his relationship with Kulusevski is really nice. There was a moment the other day, I was watching them play in South Korea against the South Korean side, and there was a moment where I was working and I looked up and I thought, blimey, it looks like Son and Kane, because Kulusevski and Son were playing in such a way that it was very reminiscent of old school Spurs, with them interchanging positions, dropping deep, always constantly aware of each other and where they were, but both playing their own game and both ending up in nice positions, and both of them got attacking returns in that game. Both of them scored. And I kind of watched it and I thought, well, that's really interesting. And then obviously since that moment, Kulusevski, only Porro's played more minutes in pre-season than Kulusevski. He's played 260 minutes in pre-season. And Postecoglou's comments about him have been fantastic, like talking about how valuable he is to the team and how it's great that he's so flexible and he's been brilliant in the number 9. Then we've had all the rumours about Solanke, and obviously Tony apparently we're back in for again today. I don't know whether we're just in for Solanke to try and get a better deal on Tony. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, but we're definitely in for somebody, and you would expect.
I'd rather have Solanke, I think.
I would too, but But are we going to pay 65 million because that's his release clause? I don't know. But what I do know,
we'll leave it till the last minute of the transfer deadline day, and then not get either of them. That's my prediction.
I think you might get somebody, but if he doesn't, then Kulusevski's going to play in the number 9, and I think that makes both him and Son much nicer options because their relationship has grown so much, and they do work really nicely alongside each other. It means that Son is on the left, but also comes in when Kulu goes out there. So I like the Son pick, I really do, and I think the way that Spurs fixtures they are mixed. But we saw Son returning against Arsenal last time. The game in there that we've got coming up against Newcastle is also not, we've seen him return in that game before as well. There's some nice fixtures in there as well. I like the Son pick. I just can't budget for him, which is why I've got Kulusevski.
We need to move on for this one, but I just think Son is the weakest premium out of all of them. I would rather have Salah, Saka, or Palmer, or Foden than Son. He would be 5th on my list. I'm not saying he's a bad asset. Obviously, he's a good asset, but I think the others are better. All better than him. I'd rather have any of the others than him. Would you disagree with that? Would you put him higher than Saka and Palmer and Salah? Obviously not Salah, because you've got Salah and you haven't got Son.
I don't have Saka either.
No, me neither. But if you had to pick one, you'd pick Saka, right?
I don't know if it would be that easy for me. I'd rank Son higher than Palmer.
Would you? I wouldn't. No.
I would. I'd rather have Son than Palmer.
Okay, so you put him equal with Saka then?
I think I'd probably go for Saka just above, but it's tight. Whereas with Palmer,
I did the draft picks the other day, and Son was like 5th or 6th, I think. Just shows us some good, some good premium assets at the moment. Right, next one. This is from Watson_Malcolm. Raya in goal. I know you're like that. You like a Raya in goal. Mikalenko, Porro, and Munoz, who I've got in my team. Salah, Kulusevski. Here he is. Rashford, Gibbs White, Haaland, Muniz, and Isak. And then a bench of Everson and Ward. It just gives me PTSD.
It's old school, that does.
I'll make Aaron Rodgers, Robinson, and Harwood Bellis. Where should we start? I mean, let's start with the obvious one here, which is Marcus Rashford, I think, in midfield. I can't really get on board with that.
I'm 100% as far away from being on board with that as can be. You've not even seen anything from him in pre-season, like.
No, he's completely off it, and I just don't see any signs that Man United is suddenly going to be a lot better. I mean, he got 7 goals last season. Say he got 17 goals the season before that. He had a really good 22-23.
We all had Bruno and Rashford. We doubled up, and then we started. Like I started the season last year with just Bruno. And then quickly dropped because I was just like, what's happened to him? Just fallen off a cliff.
Why wouldn't you just go Garnacho?
Why would you go for any Man United?
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're really desperate to have a Man U player, surely 6.5 for Garnacho seems a good.
If you're really desperate for a Man United player, I think I'd be more inclined to go for like Martinez or someone like that at the back. Genuinely. Do you see them being good in attack? They might surprise me. And
I see them better in attack than I do in defence. I think they're going to be awful in defence, especially if Euro now injured for a few months.
Yeah, but unless they kick off in the Community Shield, I don't even.
I'm not advising to buy one. I'm just saying if you had to pick a Man United attacking asset, I think I'd just go Garnacho.
All right, well, if you put a gun to my head and make me have an attacking one, then fine, we'll have Garnacho. But I'm not. No, I think there's many better options than Rashford.
There's better options than Rashford.
Having Kunku, save point.
The 6.5s are nicer. Yeah, for sure. Rodgers, he was our darling at the start of when we started doing these. We were both like, yeah, he's going to be the one. He hasn't really done anything wrong, but I'm less.
Scored this week, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm less excited about him now than I was before. I think I'm starting to get a bit worried about like Buendia coming back and Ramsey, and maybe João Felix is still being linked with the move, isn't he? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking there are quite a lot of options there for Villa. Have you still got him?
No.
No, see.
I actually don't think I had him in any drafts in the end because I needed the 0.5 in the bank, so I went for just Harry Winks because, you know, Winksy. I quite like this team though because I think that there are some good picks in there. I don't like Rashford. I think that's terrible, but that's easily fixable. I don't mind the Gibbs White pick, but I actually think that he's I don't know. Like if Rodgers was if Rashford's Kudus,
this team is really stressing you out, isn't it? More so, I think, than any other.
This team has stressed me because it's actually got a lot of potential. This team, if Rashford's in Nkunku, then you can afford to. You've got budget to kind of play with, then, haven't you? I like the Munoz pick. I do wonder whether he's worth the 0.5 over, say, Anderson or Gahey. Like he's got much more attacking threat.
Well, he's got I think he's worth it for that. I don't. I'm a bit worried about Palace. I think if Gahey leaves, if they've obviously lost Elise, Mateta's now in the Olympics final. He's not going to be back for weeks.
The Olympics final's this weekend.
Yeah, but he's going to need a break, isn't he? He's not just going to come straight back into training. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, I don't know, because he's basically had a break, hasn't he? Because he's had a break because he didn't go to the Euros. So he's had his summer, and his pre-season's basically been at the Olympics. Wouldn't you expect him to just go back in?
I don't know, if they win it, he's going to want a bit of time to go and celebrate and be off. I think he's going to be a couple of weeks. It'll be a couple of weeks out.
A couple of weeks?
You think he'll win the Olympics with France, come straight back into the Palace side for game week 1?
I don't think he'll start game week 1, but I think he'd be back on the bench for game week 1.
I don't think that. I reckon he
We're not betting on it. Nah. I have a bet.
We got people in the chat saying, as per reports, Mateta is coming back directly for game week 1. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
I think he's had a summer off. He's not gone to the Euros. He's had his summer. He's basically been at the Olympics in pre-season. So rather than playing pre-season matches with Palace, he's played them with France. And he's trained with France. So he's going to be match fit and ready to go. They've lost their key talisman, one of them, in Elise. I think he's really important to them. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in there. When do they play? Saturday?
Yeah.
So he's going to be back for nearly a week.
Munoz is a worse option if Gahey leaves, though, obviously, because then I think you're really relying on those attacking returns.
Do you think if Gahey leaves, that's it then? So if you could afford Anderson but Gahey leaves, would you not? Does it make Henderson worse? Losing Gahey. I mean, Gahey's arguably one of the best centre backs in the league. Agreed, but do you think that the Palace defence is that much weaker without him?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Definitely. It's a massive loss. I mean, who comes in? Who have they got as centre back who come in if Gahey leaves?
That's a good question. They'd have to get someone.
Someone unproven, right? Because I'm looking at their centre backs now. Rob Holding. Does he come in? I mean, if you're swapping Gahey for Rob Holding, then I think there's an issue there. I don't know.
Do we think Palace will let him go?
Yeah, I think so. If Newcastle come with a bid of 65 million for him, I think he'd go. He said he wants to leave as well. It is a step up, isn't it?
It's not that much of a step up.
Yeah, Palace aren't going to be challenging for top 4.
Think Newcastle are?
Yeah. Yeah. God, look at us. We're so different today. Racing for this one? The one that stressed you out more than any? A 7?
I think it's a 7 but it's Rashford that's made me go. Okay. I want to pull back because of Rashford, so maybe I give it 6.5 because Rashford's there.
Yeah, I'm going 6.5. That's what I was going to say.
See, we're disagreeing on a lot of things, but then we agree on the final number.
The rating comes through. Yeah, I just think there's a lot of punts here. There's Rodgers, who's a punt. Kulusevski, Rashford's a punt. I don't know. Porro, you're relying on probably attacking returns again because I still don't really trust Spurs' defence. Munez, the same thing with Gahey. I don't know, there's a lot of 6.5. 6.5 for me. Not a bad effort. This is from Imada Ahmed 4. Another Henderson, Munoz, Barco, and Vardiol. Son
Double Palace.
captain. Son captain this time with Bailey, Saka, and Jota, who we've already talked about. Muniz, Isak, and Haaland, and absolutely no bench at all in Paulson, Cozier, Dewberry, Harwood, Bellis, and Johnson.
Who is that guy? Who's
Cozier, Dewberry. He's, I think he's the one we signed from Arsenal on a free.
Right.
He's been good. He's been good in pre-season, but
Has
he's just a bench option. He won't play.
Okay, so basically you've got Harbour Bellis on the bench. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, there's one. That's it. Yeah, exactly. Straight away, I think that's too. That's too much. I think you need
particularly as you've got Barco, who's going to play, but for how long?
Oh, I know Ben Johnson. He is going to start for Ipswich, isn't he? He's the right back. They've just signed him, but he's the Ipswich. You're banking on a Ipswich and a Southampton defensive pairing. And Barco. I mean, Barco might not even keep it. That's 3-4 millions now. I don't like that. That's too much. And double Palace defence, like you say. Jota, I think, is a minute's risk. Son captain just seems. I think there's better options than Son. I don't like it.
I can tell that.
Nah, don't like it.
I don't hate it quite as much as you do.
I don't know if I hate it. I makes me feel
uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. It does a bit. It does make me feel a bit uncomfortable. Actually, it's the bench. The bench gives me like.
Where's the money though? Son and Haaland.
Yeah, where is the? I know. Where is the money?
Son, Saka, Haaland, Vardiol. Where's the rest of it?
I don't know.
Where's Isak? Because everyone else is cheap. Like
I guess
Muniz,
it's
Bailey, Munoz.
I mean, Jota's 7.5. Son's 10. Saka's 10.
Okay, so here's my views on this team. If you're going to have Henderson in goal, don't have another Palace defender.
Yep.
So
do a 4-5 and put another one up.
Correct. So do a 4-5 in the Munoz position. Go for whoever you want really, but any of the 4.5s, and then upgrade one of the others from the 4.0s and get a 4.5 instead. Yep. I quite like the attack though, apart from this random Brighton player that I've never heard of. How much is he? 4.5?
Yeah.
Right.
Good old, don't be so horrible to Cozier Dewberry.
Is he going to get any minutes?
I would be very surprised if he did.
Exactly.
He scored. I think he's might have got 2 pre-season.
Well, that's no good to me. That's not worth FPL points.
He might get 5 or 10 minutes, but he's not going to play over.
5 or 10 minutes.
He's
I think I need a bit more than that.
Yeah, you're not going to get that. Just go for Winks. I think Winks is the only one that's going to get 90, isn't he?
Yeah, agreed. It's fine. I would make that change at the back. The problem is that if you don't want to take out, you could take Son out and have Maddison or Kulusevski or Brennan Johnson. You could take Saka out and have Erdegaard. But the problem is that the rest of that team... How much is Bailey?
6.5. Don't mind the Bailey pick.
No, nor do I. I don't mind the Bailey pick.
Yeah.
I quite like this team. The more I look at it, the more I quite like it, apart from the bench. But you can fix the bench by not having Munoz.
Yeah. Maybe you just do like Johnson to Robinson and then Munoz to Conser or another 4-5. Just don't think of one for a good fixture game week 1. Because then obviously you then bring in Robinson for the future. Okay, rating for this one?
7.
7? Nah, I'm going
I
lower
don't
than
hate
that.
this.
6 for me. Don't like the captain. Don't like the bench. Don't like the Jota pick. 6. The next one.
Today.
Zoran Cablibro, 6772. Another Henderson. You see what I mean? It's all just about Henderson at the 4-5 now. Lewis Hall is in. We talked about him last week. Only really an option, I think, if Trippier leaves. Even then, I'd still be a bit worried that Byrne could just play at left back if they're signing Gahey, for example. Vardiol, Porro, Saka, Nkunku, Eze, Gordon, Havertz, Haaland and Isak. Bob's on the bench with Barco and Harwood Bellis. Triple Newcastle, double Arsenal attack, which is interesting given their fixtures.
I would lose one of the double Arsenal attack. I don't care which one. I'd lose one of them. I don't think you need to have both. I think you could have... Like if you went for a I don't know, a Munoz or somebody in and around Jao Pedro, somebody in and around that cheaper option, then I think that would allow you to just not have Hull, because I'm really not convinced about the Newcastle defence at all. I'm not convinced about tripling up on them. I don't think their fixtures are as good on as good as they are on paper. I really don't. I think I don't, for clean sheets. I can understand the Gordon and Isak double up, but honestly, my view is that at this point of the season, doubling up in attack, it feels risky when you've got so many other teams. Like this one has not a single Liverpool player in it, and they are second on the fixture ticker for the opening 6 game weeks. Like that to me is mind-boggling, and I just don't get it. Like I would rather have Munoz in the Havertz position and then use that money to either upgrade Gordon to Jota or take some money out of elsewhere and I'd take some money out of Bob and try and find a way, like just to, you know, because the other problem is you've got 3 City here. If phone goes off, what are you doing? Because you already trebled up on them, so you've got no route to get him because Bob's in the 3rd slot. It's
quite a restrictive team, isn't it? You're kind of putting a lot of eggs in the Newcastle basket, relying on Arsenal despite the fixtures not being great. Look at Barco, Howard, Bellis, and Hall. Like in game week 2, all 3 of Barco and Hall could both not be starters, and then what you're playing Harwood, Bellis. I know you can make transfers, but the idea is that we're not hoping to make too many transfers going forward. I think having Hall and Barco is just too big a gamble when you're having to play one of them every week until you wildcard, essentially.
I agree.
But yeah, I agree with you on Havertz. I just think I quite like it. Like if you look at the front 7, like that is a great front 7. Like they should all go on and have really good seasons.
Totally.
But there's something about it that's not quite right. I don't know. I think I would maybe even drop down Porro or drop down Bob and just sort that defence out. Make sure you got, like we keep saying, make sure you've got 2 4-5s on the bench.
I do both of those things.
Yeah.
I'd drop down Porro and I'd drop down Bob and I'd drop down Havertz and I'd have a better... Like I don't mind having Barco or Harwood Bellis, but I wouldn't have both.
Yeah.
And I'd change out Hall for a different better 4.5. Have 2 rotating 4.5s there. Porro can, if you want to stick with Spurs, then go for one of the 5 million Spurs defenders. I don't know really why I'd want a Spurs defender anyway, to be honest. I just wouldn't have one. And then you can probably have a Salah if you wanted to, and then you're covering Liverpool. Or if you don't want to have a Salah, you could get Trent by saving all that money by downgrading Havertz. Just take Porro up to Trent.
Then at least you've got someone.
Yeah.
Someone in. Yeah. Rating this one.
This one's really hard to rate because on paper it's actually good, but when you then start looking at it a bit more and and looking at how restrictive it is, it becomes 6.5.
6.5 for me as well. I think it's a 7 if you drop out, if you get rid of Hall, find a way to upgrade Hall and sort the defence out, and then I think all the other players are good picks.
Yeah.
But he lets us side, and you're going to be struggling, I think, with defence.
It's a little bit heavy with the locks on certain clubs.
It is. Yep. Right, let's head over to my emails then. Let's see if we've had not as many emails as we've had previously, but let's take some of these. So this is from Daniel Davis. Thank you for sending that in. Hang on, might just take me a second just to grab it. Boom. Oh, that's big. Shrink that down. There you go. This is from, as I said, Daniel Davis. This is Leno in goal. Munoz, Concert, Vardiol, Eze, De Bruyne, first De Bruyne we've seen in a while, Palmer, Salah, Isak, Muniz and Havertz, Bender in goal, haven't heard of them, Bergvall, Mikolenko and Barco. So, like last week, with no Haaland in this one, 3 premiums, De Bruyne, Palmer and Salah. De Bruyne, I don't know, I'm not really considering him, but he is good. Don't know if you know that. Don't know if you've heard that, but he is actually quite a good player.
Oh, I love you. You're brilliant. I don't know how I feel about the De Bruyne pick. I really don't.
It's a camera. If say De Bruyne comes in against Chelsea and scores a brace, and because you're probably like me, right? You're not really considering him. He's not really in my top 6 or 7 picks. If he scored a brace game week 1 and was getting, being pushed up really high up the pitch, he could enter into our thinking at some point. I'd probably still go Foden though. I think even if he did well the first few weeks.
I would still go Foden over him. Even like I would. I honestly I just don't know about De Bruyne. I don't know how he's planning to set up. I don't know what the setup at Man City, what that will mean for De Bruyne and where he's playing on the pitch. I just don't think he's worth 9.5. I'd rather have Foden. If he was 9, I'd be tempted, but 9.5 he just feels a little bit too expensive for me. De Bruyne. I honestly don't. I'm not feeling the Palmer pick at all. So late back. Nkunku is offering such good value.
I'm just not convinced on Chelsea at all.
No, nor am I, which is why I would go for Nkunku over Palmer, because I'm not convinced at all by Chelsea. I think they've had a terrible
At least at 6'5", he's
exactly.
You can get away with it. If he's rubbish, you're just like, okay, it's
move
not
him
like
on. Yeah. It's no big deal. Whereas with Palmer, like I appreciate that you could say the other way around, couldn't you? You could say, oh well, Palmer, if he's rubbish or Chelsea aren't great, then I can just move to another premium, and I get that. But I just think at 10.5, he's so expensive this year. I just don't think he's worth that level of investment. And I think if you took Palmer out and put Nkunku in there, if you then looked at what you could do with the rest of that team, it looks really nice, because you've got a Liverpool attacker already, you've got an Arsenal attacker, you've got a Newcastle attacker, you maintain your Chelsea attack, you've got Eze in there, you've got a Man City attacker as well, so it's not the end of the world. You're pretty much covering yourself in all areas, but Bergville, I'm really not sure about that pick. The Mikalenko
does he start?
Fine. Who, Bergville? I doubt it.
See, I think my only change here would be potentially to do Havertz or Muniz, or maybe even Muniz to Watkins, and downgrade Palmer down, like you said, Palmer to a 6'5", maybe even Nkunku, and then Muniz up to Watkins. I think if you're not going Haaland, you should have Watkins. I'm surprised to see a team without Haaland that doesn't have Watkins in it. And I'd rather have Saka than Palmer, for example. So
yeah, I would.
Yeah. I don't hate it though. I mean, I don't mind the Leno pick. Fulham have got good fixtures if you're paying a little bit more. I think, the 5 million goalkeepers are better, I think, for the start of the season. De Bruyne is a fun one. I'm not going to try and talk anyone out of De Bruyne because he's an elite player, and if you fancy him in the first few weeks, then why not? You can always make him Foden.
I don't mind the De Bruyne pick. I don't mind him being there. I just haven't considered him, but I don't mind him being there. I wouldn't be saying you've got to change that. I think the Palmer change is the one I would do.
I'm going to give it a 6.5. But it's a close 7, I think.
See, I don't even think you need Watkins if you don't have Haaland.
Okay.
I think if Palmer was in Nkunku, then you can upgrade Bergville. How much is even Bergville?
He's 4.5. That's why he's popular. Because there's only really Winks who plays at 4.5. So people are just looking for another 4.5, really. We need to move off this one because we've got a couple more to get through until we finish, including Jesse's brother.
Okay. Oh, you found it. I'll give this one. I don't know how I feel about this one. I think I quite like this one. It's only really Palmer that's upsetting me here.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably give it a 7.
7, a little bit higher than me.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from anyone who watches FPL Juice will know James and Jesse, and this is Jesse's brother, right? Jesse's brother Callum.
Jesse produces the FPL show, FPL pod. Jesse.
Oh, the FPL pod. Oh, not from Juice.
No.
This is
FPL pod producer and off the bench producer Jesse's brother.
Got it. So there's 2 producer Jessies because Jesse does the FPL Juice. Is obviously also called Jesse. That's why I keep calling him Jesse. Anyway, okay. So this is from the FPL pod. So this is Raya in goal with Anderson, Vardiol, and Dallo. Garnacho, double Man United. Saka, Eze, Gordon, Nkunku, Haaland, and Isak. And then a bench of Fabianski, Armstrong, Barco, and Harwood, Bellis. 2 Manchester United players.
I'm going to just get Jesse's team up because Jesse sent it to me the other day. I want to compare them.
We're going to pay his brothers to his team?
Yeah. So, because Jesse sent me one and then went, oh gosh, no, I've just realised that Haaland got a hat-trick. I better get him in. And he didn't actually send me an updated one, so I've only got his team without Haaland. I like this one.
You like it? You like the Dallo and Garnacho pick? I'm surprised at that.
Well, the Dallo, I wouldn't have Dallo. But I think there's a lot of good things in here. Like, in terms of the way it's set up, you've got a premium in every position, including goal, which is something that I really like. That's something that I like to do, put somebody in every position. So you've got Haaland, Saka, Vardy and Raya as your premiums. That's really nice. I like the Isak pick, but then everyone does. I like the Eze pick, but then everyone does. I think Nkunku's valuable. I also don't mind the Armstrong pick up top. I think that's fine. I think I would prefer João Pedro, but whatever. It's a 5.5 forward, so fine. Garnacho, Dalot. Personally, my opinion is that there are better players in that price point than both of those two. I don't think you need to spend 5 million on Dalot. I think you could go for another 4.5 defender. And if you do that, that enables you to not be able to just have Barco and Harwood Bellis. You can then have just one of them and have a nice rotating set of 4.5s. And of the three, you just play them whenever you want. And Garnacho, Jesse's an Arsenal fan, but I think his brother isn't. I think Callum is a...
This. I think only an Arsenal fan, only a Man United fan would be picking Dalot and Garnacho, personally.
I've got the feeling that Jesse said that before, that his brother is a United fan. And so this might just be one of those where you feel like you want to have a United player. And I think if I was in that boat, I'd just go for one of the 4.5 defenders. But
oh God, no.
But would
I don't mind the Garnacho pick. I think Garnacho at 6.5 is good value. He's probably not someone that I'm going to go for, but I wouldn't be saying I want a Man U pick. I'm going to go for. I don't know why you keep banging on about Martinez. The United defense is awful. I don't go anywhere near them.
But it's not because I think they... Well, I wouldn't either. But if you're a United fan and you really want a United player, that's what I would do. That's what I did with Spurs that year.
No way. Yeah, no way. I can't get aboard with that. I think if you're a United fan, you want your Man U pick, you go for Garnacho. I think he's the best. I think he's the best one. I don't mind that. I like this team. I think this team's good. I think it's the best one we've seen today. I think the only issue I have with it is Dalot. I'd get rid of Dalot, get in literally anyone else, and then it's fine.
Yeah, but if you get rid of Dalot, then that's what I'm saying. Like, Barco could be a 4.5, then you got 3 4.5s, and then they're nice and rotating.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm going to give this a 7. A solid 7. No Liverpool's obviously a concern, but you have.
Yeah, but if you're a United fan, that might be why.
Yeah.
I would lose Garnacho.
Okay.
And Dalot. But other than that, I like it.
Sounds like you're a 7.
Might give it a 7.5.
7.5. Oh, okay, very nice.
It's my favourite one of the day as well.
We're getting very negative comments in the chat today, Sam. People aren't really enjoying our commentary on these teams. I'm being slated because I don't rate Son, which is interesting. I didn't say I don't rate Son. I said I wouldn't put him in my top 5 premium assets this season.
I think that's mad, by the way. What am I being slated for? Go on.
You're getting slated because you don't rate Palmer. Obviously,
I didn't say I didn't rate Palmer.
No, I know it's
just I don't think he's worth 4 million more than Nkunku.
And of course, we get the classic. These guys hate Manchester United. Look at them slating us. We won the FA Cup. Man U fans are the most precious bunch, aren't they? If you say one thing about their players and they go absolutely lose their minds.
They've got no players. They're all injured. That's the other problem. They're all injured and. I mean, look, all right, we might take it back next week. Let's watch the Community Shield on Saturday and see what happens. But my personal view is that if you want a Manchester United asset because you like Manchester United, you go for the cheapest one possible.
No.
And I don't think that Garnacho is the best one.
I think if you love Man United, you know their flaws and you do not pick Lisandro Martinez. We're going to lose 10-0 to Brighton game week 2. We're going to thrash them. We're going to be all over them. Minte versus Dalot? No, it'd be Shaw, wouldn't it? Damn, Shaw's back. He's good. Wish it was Dalot.
I'm sorry we've upset everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. Loving Fantasy Football says, can we not rate drafts from Fantasy Football Scout Twitter, which is exactly what we spent the first 40 minutes of this stream
we did do that.
Doing. So I'm not sure what they want. But yeah, everyone's a bit tetchy today, it feels like. The chat's a little bit tetchy. Maybe people are starting to panic a bit because there's only a week to go.
I also think... Don't you think, and I said this, we've been saying this for a while, I think when you start to feel like you're settling on your team, it's then quite hard to listen to somebody say, I don't like it.
That's true, yeah.
And when people say they don't like it, what you're really saying is, it's not like mine and I like mine. it is quite difficult when you get to this point, because you're not like, all of this is like our personal judgment based upon what we read and what we see. But of course, what we read and what we see informs what we do with our own team. And we've got players in there that we think are like locks. Like for me, I can't see myself going without Salah and Haaland. I just can't see it. And because of that, that is going to have an impact on what I think about, say, Palmer. Because I'm not saying I think Palmer is a bad pick. I clearly don't. He was phenomenal last season. I just can't see that I would spend 10.5 when I can have Nkunku for 6.5. And so it's all of those things that are paying. So, and I think that's why people get upset, because you know you're saying that what they're doing is, you don't like it.
And
I'm not saying it's wrong.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing now is that because there's so much variety in teams, and I think like we are seeing some players becoming the template. Like Henderson is quite clearly the template now. And I think Haaland and Salah is going to end up being the what majority of people go for. Though today we've seen some teams that kind of have, most of them had Haaland, but like quite a few didn't have Salah, because because Saka's coming back into play. You know, there's Sons we saw, there's Palmer's, even a De Bruyne. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it is hard rating the teams. It's hard with like players like Garnacho and Bailey, because they're not players that I'm really looking at. But I don't want to say to someone, don't pick them, because like I think they could do well. Like, I mean, I've got Gibbs White in my team.
Have you?
At the moment, because I think Forest fixtures are good, and the he's on penalties and everything. But is he that much better than Garnacho or any of the others? Of course he's not. But if you were to ask me who to pick, I'd obviously say Gibbs White, because that's why I've got him in my own team. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Anyway, we will be back next week for the final Q&A.
Q&Aing, right?
Properly Q&Aing. We'll be properly Q&Aing ahead of that. So we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you for sending me your teams. Thank you for getting involved in the scout. To anyone who sent their teams in, sorry if we haven't got to you. I've literally been pulling things at random. So if it wasn't you, then that is just unfortunate. But yeah, Sam and I will be back next week. Before we go, Sam, how settled are you, would you say, with your team at the moment?
I reckon I'm 80%.
80%, okay.
What happens at Spurs in the next in the next 9 days will be quite telling. If we come close to signing somebody and it looks like it's happening, then it will change the way my team is set up, because I will want that. I think I will want that Spurs forward.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I think I may. And now I've decided on Salah and Haaland.
It does lock a lot of it.
It does. My defence isn't really changing. I know that I'm going to have a 6-5, at least one 6-5 asset, probably two. If Solanke does sign, though, which I don't think he will, because I think Levy's going to draw it out until right at the end. But I think Solanke will be straight in my team if he signs. I think he'd be a brilliant signing for Spurs. Or Tony, if you've got Tony as well, I think he'd be a good signing as well.
I think one of them will come. It's just which one.
Yeah. Cool. Lovely stuff. Well, I'll see you next week. And if anyone is watching this and hasn't bought their ticket to Fest, what are you doing? Come to Fest next Friday. Looking forward to seeing lots of you there.
Listen to us chat. We're going to chat, aren't we?
Yeah. We'd have a little... Are we? A little chat at Fest.
Yeah, you, me, on the stage.
Am I doing the stage?
Yeah.
Well, no one's told me that.
Well, I think Mark might have been supposed to tell you that.
Well, he hasn't. Mark doesn't tell me anything, let's be honest.
It's you, me and Mark, I think.
Is it? Oh, no, okay, no one's told me. Okay.
God knows why I'm involved in this. I'm not part of Black Box, but, here I am.
Honorary.
I'm just there in spirit.
Honorary.
I only got told it was you this morning when I asked Gianni and I saw him at the show.
Oh, no, I haven't done anything. So, anyway.
You, me, the stage.
I'll do that. I'll just get some free drink vouchers from Ed as payment. That'd be enough.
Exactly.
Lovely stuff. Right. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.